You're welcome back to the AM show. Just before the break, we played a clip of Greta Thunberg, who is an environmental and climate activist, and she was challenging leaders to do better when it comes to matters that concern the environment, that concern the climate. But let's do other stories now, because tomorrow the world will celebrate teachers. On the AM show today, we speak to a former national best teacher, Faustina Cobson, who won the coveted prize in 2017 with Richard Akwe Memorial School. We speak to her on what government should do to make the lives of teachers better. We also know that there's been a recent cost of living allowance. Is that enough? Well, we'll get the answers very soon. Good morning, ma'am.
Good morning.
How are you?
I'm good. Yourself?
I'm fantastic, thank you. Now, it's been some 5 years since you won the prize, the Best Teachers Prize. How has your life changed when it comes to that?
Thank you. Yes, it's been 5 years, and in fact, tomorrow is going to look like another birthday, as far as the award is concerned in my life. A lot has transpired over the period. Considering who I was before the award and now, there's been vast change. There's been a lot of exposure as far as the profession is concerned. There were a lot of things that I overlooked before the awards, but now I see things differently as far as education is concerned. I see teaching differently. I see myself different. I always ask myself, what else can I do? Because then you need to stand up to whatever award you want. You need to prove yourself. It's just not for the fact that you had to win and you won. But then after the award, what else? Who else benefits? And so it's been another working zone for me to ensure that I bring not just the learners, but the teachers, my colleague teachers as well on board. And so in the process, I've been doing a lot of things in supporting teacher professional development.
Okay.
Yes, so I sat back. Initially, I was focusing on just the learners.
Okay.
Before I had the award, there were few activities, in fact, a lot of activities I was doing with my learners, which actually brought me to the limelight. But after winning, after everything is said and done, after I had done all I had to do for my learners, and I'm still doing, what else can I do? So I decided to focus more on my own colleagues. And over the years, I have been in collaboration with Ghana Society for Education Technology, GSET, in bringing professional development for teachers across the country.
So let's talk about, Okay, you can continue.
I'm listening.
I wanted us to talk about what exactly you've been doing to, for teachers' professional development.
Okay, so like I said, in collaboration with the Ghana Society for Education Technology, we're looking at assisting or supporting teachers in integrating technology in their classes. We realized that, in fact, the world, you and I would agree that the world has changed and is still changing. And the formats or the pedagogy that were used during our time when we were in school wouldn't be too appropriate now. Things are changing. Things need to move to more of the global front. And I sit to ask myself, is the Ghanaian teacher capable? Is the Ghanaian teacher ready to fit into the global market? And one thing I saw, or one thing I feel, if the Ghanaian teacher is well versed in, will push the teacher on a higher pedestal, had to do with technology. And so with the Ghana Society for Education Technology, they are assisting me to help my colleague teachers. We run trainings for teachers. Recently, I think 2 weeks ago, we were in the Eastern region. We are looking at getting close to 5,000 teachers. We started with the Eastern region. We've gone to some of the regions. 2 weeks ago, we were there to run a pilot program, TTT, for some selected teachers. And we wanted to see how the teacher can transform the teaching and make it real to the learner. Because you realize that most often we were doing the rote learning, and so a child could memorize top of the multiplication, whatever, and the child could say it off head.
Yeah.
Now the child gets to a shop to buy, and the child cannot relate. 2, 1, 2, 3, 1, 3, whatever.
Yeah.
And then a child gets to the shop, buys egg, maybe one for 20 Ghana cedis, or one for 5 cedis or something. So the child has bought 3. How much would it cost in totality? Then the child is stuck. The child couldn't just relate what has been taught in the classroom to the real life situation. And I believe that if the teachers are well versed in professionally in some of these things, they would know the exact pedagogy to pick to support our learners. There are a lot of things we learn on the internet, a lot of things we can add to our lives through the internet and all. But how many of us, my own colleagues, how many of us are ready? How many of us are even well versed in using the gadgets being given? I think I hope you are aware, laptops have been shared all over the country for a majority of colleague teachers. What is happening now is that you'll be surprised, since someone received, the thing is sitting in the room, the person hasn't even opened to even know what exactly or how to even handle it.
Yeah.
So I want to pick it from that angle in support or in collaboration with the Ghana Society for Education Technology to help me help my colleagues. We need to come on board. We need to be versed in these technologies. We need to know. But some of our learners, they know more than us.
Yeah.
They know more than us. Some of them are well exposed. Some are not. So what happens to those exposed? Do we term them as too knowing or over knowing? They are exposed. So those who are not exposed, what do we? That's where you, the teacher, you come in to put the learner alone. So and so I am believing that with this course that I am treading, well, any organization can also come on board to support us, but teachers must be well versed in some of these things. I believe when we are well versed in some of these things, we can stand the global market. We can stand any teacher elsewhere in the country with them more developed.
So now, what role can the Ministry of Education play in making sure that teachers are well versed, teachers know what they're doing, and so that it can, relate to the classroom, that the learners can also be able to learn properly? What can the Ministry of Education do?
Okay, so thank you. The Ministry of Education, like I said earlier, they've ensured through other stakeholders and all to supply teachers in the first place with these laptops. I am focusing more on the laptops because I am more passionate when it comes to the technological aspect of education, how we are going to imbibe or how we are going to integrate it in the classroom. They have supplied it. There's been few trainings around the place, but my question is, are those trainings enough?
Yeah.
Are those trainings enough? Because I can say on a point that, like I said, I've interacted with teachers, a lot of teachers across the country. You get to a place, a teacher has to just pick a phone, an Android phone, to even do something for him or herself, and the teacher is stuck.
I see.
Talking of these licensing stuff and then points and that NTC has brought, teachers are supposed to interact more with technology because NTC will communicate more to you through your emails and stuff. And you realize that teachers, some of them even forget the emails they have given to NTC to communicate with them. Meanwhile, there are a lot of information there for them. What I'm saying is that if they are well versed, if the training come often and they hands-on are more often and they are always on the machine, they are always doing something with the machine, I believe, it will be a friendly thing. It will be a friendly thing. Let's talk of lesson preparation. You realize that some are claiming teachers should still write. Some are saying, no, we are now having our laptops. We want to prepare on the laptops and submit. How many of us teachers are ready to prepare the notes on the laptops if trainings are not done for them, if they are not developed in that direction? And so that is why my focus over the has gone more on that area to ensure that teachers will stand on their feet. We shouldn't see Ghanaian teachers as poor. We shouldn't see them as, let me say, the archaic teachers, the analog kind of teachers. We need to produce digital teachers, teachers who are just up and do, teachers who are just can click anything by just, in a minute, and they are clicking and they are finding things out for themselves, So that is where my focus is more shifted to.
Is it also not the case that the teachers are being lazy? I mean, you've been given these laptops with various softwares on them. What's the problem? Is that you need training? Can't you be proactive and work on it?
Okay, so, from your angle, maybe that's how you would see it, that they are being lazy. From my angle, I'm not seeing it as they are being lazy, because in some years past, I used to be in that shoes. I used to be in that field.
Okay.
Yes, the issue is that the kind of work we do and the kind of training we had, the training then was not focusing on technology.
Okay.
We're writing everything having to do with your lesson planning, you write. Having to do with your teaching, you write. You are being given a chalkboard or whiteboard or whatever, and you write. And so the mind, the soul, body, everything is tuned and focused into the fact that you just need to write. And so even if there's a laptop and there's a pen and a paper, and you put the Ghanaian teacher there, I believe we would have quite a large number picking the pen and paper first.
I see.
To write.
I see.
Exactly. Now that these machines, now that these gadgets have been given to you and I wouldn't say you and I, but then I would say that before these machines came, majority of them I wouldn't say who, but for all you know, not be able to afford. And so they would, they would put a blind eye on that side. Now it's been given to you at a flexible, rate or whatever, and then you are having the gadget now.
Yeah.
To open it, what should I even click? The confidence to click.
I see.
It's even an issue. What should I click? If I open, what if I press something and something happens? And so then, so if we have enough training, if we develop them enough on it, and they get to know that even fidgeting with it is part of the learning, even interacting with it, it's part of the learning. As time goes on, you would be able to get over it. You'll be able to do a lot of things with this laptop.
Yeah.
Then I'm hoping to see the Ghanaian teacher get there, where a lot of things can be done through the internet. When the new curriculum was introduced, a lot of us were complaining, and we were waiting for textbooks and all that. There are a lot of materials in there that the teacher can retrieve as backup to support the learner.
Okay. So what I'm hearing is that at the top of the list, we need training. What else?
Exactly.
Yeah. What else can maybe the ministry or any stakeholder out there provide to make your lives as Ghanaian teachers easier?
Okay, so for me, I have said that over the period, I've been looking more at professional development. I'm looking at technology and all that. And maybe if telco organizations can come in to support with data acquisition and all that, it would also help the Ghanaian teacher. And even with our colleagues in the villages where maybe connectivity becomes a problem, they could find a way. Well, I don't know, but I'm only suggesting if they could find a way of supporting them, because there are people there who equally want to learn, who are willing, who are ready to learn. But you realize that then when the conversation goes across the table, we come back to the point that, or come to the fact that, madam, we don't have connection.
Yeah.
And so how join, yes. Oh, I think during the COVID, myself, in collaboration with the Ghana Society for Education and Technology, we tried to organize the ERT session, emergency remote teaching, for
Okay.
teachers in Ghana. And teachers were to join some of the sessions via Zoom. And it was terrible. It was terrible, you know. We brought that program because we realized that when the COVID came, we realized that, wow, a time could come when a teacher can be in the class every time. A time could come that could break the relationship between the teacher, I mean, the face-to-face relationship. What happens to the learner?
Yeah.
So the teacher can still reach the learner from his or her home. But here we were at that time, teachers were not well versed in that pedagogy. And so we all folded our arms. We realized that teachers that came on board with this ERT thing were most teachers from the private sectors, where some of them were well versed, some of them had the gadgets, some of them could afford. But I don't know which public school in the country during the COVID was able to reach our own learners. During that time, my boy was in the SHS and he was joining class via Zoom. Every minute he comes out and the face is gone down and I'm like, what is it? And he goes like, connection gone off. So even you are in Accra and connection goes off. Those of us in the villages, those of us outskirts the cities, what is happening to us? So if our telcos can come in, I would be very grateful. So at least they support the teachers in acquiring some of these data that needs to help them research and all that.
So we know that there's training that is needed. Number two is you wish that the telcos could come in and help provide data so that connection is easier. But we also know that there's been a recent cost of living allowance. Is that enough? Has that been very helpful in any way?
Okay, so enough is a word, and enough can never be enough as far as living or life is living.
Okay.
I don't think you are okay with whatever you are receiving from your end.
Yeah.
Assuming people should say that we want to top up. Would you say, no, I'm okay? So yes, we want to applaud the conversation went that far. I want to applaud for our union leaders, the government, and all that. But then, as Oliver would always come back to ask for more if it is available.
All right. So if you could give me 5 things that you need from Ministry of Education, from stakeholders. We know that number 1 is training. We know that number 2 is data. If you can give me 3 more things that you need that will make your lives as Ghanaian teachers easier, what would those things be?
So easier in what terms? Easier in classroom, easier in personal life?
Easier in classroom, but it's also important, your personal life is also important, because if, let's say, for example, you don't have a car and you have to trek hundreds of kilometers to the classroom, it's obviously going to affect what you do in the classroom. So whether it's personal or professional, what do you need to make your lives easier? Yeah.
Okay. And so some of the allowances should be looked at. You just mentioned a car. I know there is something of that, but not a general thing for the teacher. I know some of the unions are helping their members in acquiring some of these things. But then if the ministry would take it up, it would help. You see, a teacher is supposed to, for my school, we're supposed to have the early bird. And so by 7, early bird should start. So what time should you be here as a teacher? And you are living around Ashonman, and you are living beyond Kaswa. I have some of my colleagues living as far as those stretches. And how are they going to struggle to get to this place? You realize that they get here and they are tired. Someone will say, if they are tired, then they should find a place around their place. Whatever where you are, you don't have any school clothes.
Yeah.
Maybe you just moved in there. So you still want to be here till you manage whatever. And so if just would have the car allowance, I know it will help. You get to a whole school compound and you don't see one car parked.
Yeah.
You don't see one car. pact for a teacher. And it doesn't really speak too well. It really dampens the spirit of the teachers, and it doesn't really put the profession in a certain class, because then people come back to term the profession as a profession for poor people. You know?
Yeah.
And so if the government could come in and then go through the deduction through the usual deducting means, I think teachers will be more comfortable if they have some housing allowances or what.
Okay.
Or I mean, those are the very basic things that, of course, if you are working and you've acquired them, is like 50% of a headache is gone down. As you work on, of course, you make some few notes, and then life becomes a bit comfortable for you. Even if 2-bedroom apartments or whatever, something simple for the Ghanaian teacher to also feel proud of the profession. But it looks like you realize people would be in it, they stay through, they are 60, they are retiring, and when you see them, some of them, I wouldn't say all, when you see some of them, it's so sad. If you've been in the village where I was for 4 years before moving to Accra, if you go to the villages, you see some of them, you ask yourself, and so how is this person going to come out? Because back then when I was in the village, there were some elderly men on the staff, and when you even look at them, when you look at them, you're like, if they're not coming out of this place, then they're done.
Yeah.
You know, so if some of these things are brought into the Ghanaian teacher's life, whether you're in the village or you are in the city, you still feel safe and you still feel comfortable, you still feel proud, and you are ready to work for Mother Ghana and to bring the Ghanaian child to the global front.
All right. Faustina Cobson, on behalf of your learners, the parents, and everybody else you have, whose lives you've improved, we'd like to say thank you. And especially because tomorrow's theme is the transformation of education begins with teachers. And what you're obviously doing is trying to transform the education sector.
Exactly.
And we really, really, really appreciate your good work done. That is Faustina Cobson, who won the National Best Teacher Prize in 2017 with Richard Akwe Memorial School. When we return from the break, Benjamin Akakpo will host Ghana's Honorary Consul to Ukraine, Dr. Albert Kicha.